Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to TimeToPlay.com's Empower Half Hour. My name is Doreen Guma. I am a certified professional life coach. Been in healthcare since 1987. Worked in acute care and also nursing homes, and sort of got tired of seeing the sick and sad. We hear this all the time, right? But it's true. You know, we have our choices and are able to make choices, and the goal of Empower Half Hour is to help us pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and move forward and love our life. And the Time to Play is a foundation. We are a not-for-profit organization, and that is what sponsors this Empower Half Hour podcast. And our short version of our mission is that we're inspiring everyone to enjoy life. Online with us this day, we have Ruth Curran. Good morning, Ruth. If you want to just say good morning quickly.
How are you? Yeah.
And Ruth
I am a brain specialist, a brain and behavior specialist, and I've made my life's work helping people figure out how to change their behavior and make their lives better.
Excellent. And online with us is Michael Waterman. Good morning, Michael. You want to
Good morning. How are you?
Give us 2 seconds of what you are.
I am a makeup artist. I have been a makeup artist, skincare consultant, and beauty expert for over almost 40 years now. I have been with Time to Play 2 years, and I've been helping the world put on a happy face for a long, long time. Nice to speak, and good morning and Happy New Year, everybody.
Good morning.
And our very special person who's going to be helping us empower ourselves to love our life and enjoy life is Kim Jorgensen Gane. So good morning, Kim, and thank you for joining us. And do you want to just give a quick overview of who you are and your goals and visions?
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it very much. This is my first podcast, so I'm pretty excited to be joining you guys today. I was actually a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and last year I really decided that I wanted more out of life. So I took it upon myself to really, step out of that stay-at-home mom mentality and really stretch myself. And I'd been blogging for a couple years, but last year was really the year that I wanted to really look at, business-wise, how I wanted to move forward and the career that, now that my son was at the time 10 years old and he was, getting more and more his own life, it was time for me, as many, stay-at-home moms and midlife women go through, midlife everybody, I'm sure. It was time for me to decide what it was that I wanted out of my life when it was time for me to kind of, take charge and do something. So I have my website, which is Gane, and it's spelled like my last name, Gane, possible.com. And it's really my goal is really to inspire others to, live their best life and be happy and be fulfilled. And a lot of that path for me has been through writing. So I co-facilitate a writer's workshop called Write, WRITE, of course, to the end, the number 2. And that has been just remarkable this last year. And I also am co-directing for the first year, a local production of Listen to Your Mother, which is a national stage show that celebrates Mother's Day, and that I participated in Northwest Indiana last year, and then this year I'm bringing it to my hometown. And so that's really exciting. So I had a big year.
No, that's wonderful. And I love the fact, of course, that you believe that everything is possible. We do too. And in our society, in many cases, we're told we can't, and we believe it. And that's one of the things with our whole foundation is to let people realize and know that the only one that holds us back is ourselves.
Yes.
We actually wrote a book called If I Knew Then What I Know Now, and Ruth is a contributor, and Michael contributes to the website. Writing is soothing, so we should discuss that a little bit during this half hour. So, Ruth, you and Kim did talk. So you have
we did.
You have a bullet that you guys, if you want to maybe start with that first bullet of items so that we can kind of make sure that we convey all the very most important things here in our half hour.
Yeah, and Kim, you've done a whole bunch of things. Can you talk a little bit about the stage production and what that did for you? And let me preface that just a little bit.
Sure.
Kim and I talked about all kinds of things and how you can come from a place of feeling like there's no hope to a little tiny step, and then another little tiny step, and then all of a sudden you are getting feedback from other people. Can you talk about that progression? Yeah.
And before Kim goes into that, I want to also bring Michael in this respect too, because what I watched the YouTube video that Kim did speak at that Listen to Your Mother program, and this is the story of so many, unfortunately, where we make that decision and choice. And Michael, you can also speak to this, and this is one of the reasons why we created the Be Extraordinary makeup and fragrance. The Be Extraordinary fragrance is unisex to remind everyone to be extraordinary. We all
Kim,
are.
I agree. I know I've gotten to that point myself, and I grew up in the theater, by the way. So when I was watching the video this morning, your YouTube, I really related to you. I thought that, I know where you can get to a point in your life where it's like, okay, now what? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I? And that's a terrible place to be. Having been there a long time ago myself, I know, and I pulled myself out, Kim. I learned the only person I could rely on, the only person I needed to the only person that could really help me at that point was Michael. And guess what? Michael did. I moved, and Ruth will back me up too. If you change your mindset, if you change your thinking, and Doreen will say, it just starts with, I can do this. And that really helped me too.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
opening
the other
up
thing,
your mind and asking, what can I do? What can I control? I can control my choices, and I can control my attitude. And maybe these things happen to me, or, maybe this is my life situation now, but what can I do? What is possible for me right now? And like you said, in small steps. And, it's like every day being positive or being present, that is a choice that we have to make every single day, and sometimes minute by minute. And it's kind of a practice, like yoga or like meditation or anything like that. It is a conscious practice in choosing to think, what can I do, instead of wallowing, believe me, I have done my share of wallowing. I have so wallowed. But it's about making a choice and several times a day, every minute, making that choice that I'm not gonna be stuck in what was. I'm gonna.
I see it every day on the subway when I'm in Long Island, when I'm going into Manhattan, and people get off the trains, and they're not there. They're standing. They get up. The train doors open, and they walk into Penn Station. And they don't even see the people. They bump like little weebles. They bump into each other. They don't say, excuse me. They're really not conscious of the people around them. And every once in a while, someone will bump me, and I'll say, consciousness. And they'll, consciousness, hello. And they laugh, and they smile, and suddenly they're alive again. It's like that movie Pleasantville. All the black and white goes away, and the color comes back. And I'm all about color.
Well, let me
others' lives.
Right, and let me just go into our choice, because Kim, that's huge, and we talk about that on the Empower Half Hour all the time. our choice, right? It's our choice if we choose to wallow. It's our choice if we want to continue what we're doing. It's our choice if we are I don't want to use the word failing because we don't fail, we learn. Right. But it's our choice if we want to continue that learning or if we want to change what we're doing. So how did you start? And I know the writing is huge because when we wrote the book, and the book is called If I Knew Then What I Know Now, everybody that wrote, and Ruth can back me up, and even Michael can, discuss even writing the articles and stuff. That's powerful because we are able to see where we are now, and it actually can give us some insight and heal us. So talk about that a little bit.
Writing. Oh, yes. Writing is very much is therapy. For me, I've always, I'm self-diagnosed with ADD, or like multiple Ds.
Multiple,
I'm self-diagnosed with ADD, and for a long time, I felt like a crazy person because the stories and the memories and the experiences and replaying, it's going through your mind. If you have the soul of a writer, that is going through your mind whether you're writing it down or not. So for the longest time, I talked about wanting to be a writer, and I would have fits and starts, and for a while I would do it and it would feel so good, but then the doubts would creep in, and then, I didn't feel like validated. And I don't have a college degree, and that was a big, huge excuse for me to not step out and to not stretch myself and to not, own this piece of myself. So it was a crutch, really. Not having a college degree for me was a crutch. And
it was an excuse.
It was a huge excuse. It was an excuse, I was afraid to fail, but I was just as afraid to succeed. So that was my big, fallback. Well, I don't have a college degree. What can I do with myself? So I had to find a way to break out of that mindset and think of what's possible, which is why, my website is Gane Possible, because I had to think about, well, what's possible? Well, in this day and age of the internet and blogging and all of that, anything is possible, truly. We can do whatever we want to do, and a lot of those things we can do for free. So we're only held back by our own mental blocks. So I started blogging. I started back at a time when it was a lot easier to promote your blog on Facebook and things like that. I had relied on Facebook as a way to stay in touch with people when we moved to San Diego for 2 years, which was, my daughters were in New York and Florida, so I almost couldn't get farther away from them and still be in the country. So, Facebook, I call it crack book because it absolutely, it consumed me because I was so far away from everything that I'd known and everything that I loved. And especially my girls. I have 2 grown daughters. They're both married. And then I have an 11-year-old little boy who obviously is at home. And so that transition, that huge move, leaving my hometown and moving to California and starting a new life there was overwhelming, and it was devastating, and it was hard. And I did not like myself at all. I had this big chip on my shoulder. I was this chubby Midwestern girl that landed in this huge sea of people in San Diego, and I just didn't connect with anyone. I didn't have any friends. I went from, having my family and my daughters and my mom and this really strong group of women friends to just floundering and having no support. So Facebook was huge for me. It was my way to stay in touch with everybody, but it also held me back because I wasn't stretching and I wasn't reaching out where I was. So I really started doing that, with my blog. And I started, even if it wasn't somebody that I knew well, I started inviting people into my home. And, for moms get-togethers, because it was really pretty much through my son's school that I was getting to know people a little bit. And really that started with blogging, because I started writing and I started getting positive feedback from the people that I did know and that I was close to. And then it's all of a sudden, I can call myself a writer and own that. And then I just started, branching out a little more and a little more. And it truly saved my soul. And I actually have more contacts, more friends in San Diego now than I had when I lived there.
Yeah, because I didn't even know you were in San Diego when you were.
So
that's how interesting is that? Yeah.
I
so,
know,
and Kim,
I was invisible.
We talked a little bit about this stepped process. So you started writing. That gave you a little bit of empowerment, and you were getting feedback. And then I think the really interesting thing is that you started looking at, okay, so you saw yourself as maybe I'm a writer. Then you started looking at what else brought me joy. What are those things that brought me joy in my life? And then what was your next step, Kim?
Well, really, I guess there's kind of a huge time leap here, because I was, I thought that I was going to do this, internet entrepreneur stuff. So I was kind of learning and training and doing a lot of webinars and blah, blah, blah. Well, that felt very insincere to me. I'm not dissing anybody who, loves that and makes their living doing that, but it just felt really empty to me. And what I missed so much in San Diego was face-to-face, and it was human contact, and it was impacting others, and it was being impacted by others, and it was really that humanity, So this 2014 was I had my own little hashtag, more in 2014, and that was my every almost waking thought and goal is, how can I get more out of 2014? So, and we can all do this. Now this is the start of 2015, and we can all ask ourselves this question now. So for me, going back to things that I loved as a child was very important. And I sang my first solo in church when I was 5 years old, and was an attention seeker from that day on. So that's very much a piece of what brings me joy. And although I have terrible stage fright, so it's hugely frightening to me. But talk about stretching and talk about stepping out. So that was pretty much how I started, because I'm a blogger, and because of the group of midlife bloggers and writers that we belong to, Women of Midlife, Ruth. I became aware of Listen to Your Mother. Got some encouragement from some of the other women in the group who have done it. And so I thought I was probably going to have to go to Chicago to audition and to participate if I was selected. Well, that was kind of big and scary, because Chicago is another big, huge sea of people. So I found the closest one to me was actually Northwest Indiana, Valparaiso, Indiana. So I drove an hour and 10 minutes, and I went and I auditioned, and my story was selected. And we didn't really cover it, I don't think, but my story was about being suicidal as a young single mom. I was 20 years old when I had my daughter, and I was all alone. And but it was very much a story of hope, and it was a story of, building the family that I have now. I have, my daughter is our oldest. She's going to be 28 the end of this month. My stepdaughter is our middle. She's going to be 26 at the end of this month. My girls both have the same birthday, 2 years apart, which is very weird. And then I have my little boy who is 11, and he'll be 12 in April. And he was the result of 6 years of infertility. So, I have this very, very non-traditional family, but it's beautiful and it's hopeful. And it was, so much so that's what my Listen to Your Mother story was about. It kind of touched on all those pieces. And
the thing, I think the thing that struck me most about and strikes me most about your perspective, Kim, is that you had this story, and as Doreen talks about, we all have our stories, and we all have these things that, you know, sit in our gut. When I talk to you, and when you and I have interacted before, if I hadn't listened to the, to the piece that you did, I would never have known that there was anything but positive in your life. And what's impressive is taking that, and from that, you know, from the depths of where you were, and coming up and not looking back. Looking at, and only looking back to see what are those good things that I can pull from my past. Okay, so what do I love? What do I love that can make my life better right now? And I think that's what's really impressive. You talked to me about getting encouragement from other people and allowing that to empower you.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit?
Let me interrupt for a second, because there's a couple of points I like to kind of give people things to think about in planting seeds. That's the goal of this. But to, you know, discuss, if a lot of times we keep things internal, not that we should share what they call that dirty laundry or the stuff that's in there, but realistically, it's important to understand and to know that if you feel a certain way, you know that there's other people that do. So, you know, like that's why I said about with Michael, you know, he went through. We all question sometimes, why are we here? What are we doing? Is it easy? Which is the easiest way out? Like, should we give up? Should we just stop it? Should we get rid of the pain? Our pain is too great. Or do we take a moment? Because, and there was my daughter does a youth group program on Friday night. She's 19, it's my youngest. And there was a girl here last week that spoke of just the most, searing pain. She did a poem, ripped my heart out. I can't even tell you. And if she feels that way, other people feel that way. If you say, how can you even go on? Other people are feeling that way too. And what I said to her at that point was, maybe this moment in time sucks, but the next moment might be better, and the next moment will be better, and the next moment will be better. So never give up. So, you know, to emphasize that if you feel this way, someone else does, that we all may experience some internal pain. We, like what Michael was saying, people are unconscious walking around, and, you know, we're just overwhelmed maybe. And I say all the time, like, we are in control, even though we don't think we are.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
Just need
one
to
moment.
Stop. Right.
Yeah, one moment,
we just
or
need
one
to
mistake,
stop.
or one, you know, experience, or one trauma, or even a series of traumas, does not have to define us for a lifetime. We permit it to a lot of times.
Exactly.
So if we stretch, and if we reach out, and if we look for the good things in life, you know, singing was a really important part of my life growing up. I did it from the time I was 5 years old. You know, I even as an adult, when I had my daughter, I sang in weddings and funerals, and you know, my senior year in high school, I had the lead in our musical. We did The King and I was Anna. This was huge in my life, and I loved it. So,
and that shows in your voice, by the way, very much.
Oh, thank you.
Did you know that? You can hear the timbre in your voice when you speak, that the music is still there inside you, and you always will be, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it was, you know, letting that fall away from my life. You know, as a mom, that was my choice too. You know, I could have, if I could have seen, you know, we talk about wallowing, and yet we know consciously in our brains, we know that other people are going through what we're going through, but we don't really feel that way in the moment. We feel like we're the only ones. We feel like we're the worst ones. We feel like, well, somebody else it hasn't had it as bad, or somebody else has had it worse, and I should have been able to handle it better, but I didn't. So we're very, we're like children, you know, we're very self-involved, and we're very, pulled down into our own pit of despair. And it's in helping
Don't you
others
find also that has a lot to do with humiliation? People
a shame.
don't want anybody else to know, oh my God, if they find out how I feel, or, I don't know if I can handle this, and I'm just going to go turn inward and get scared and pretend everything on the outside is wonderful.
Yeah.
And, because God forbid anybody can see that, oh my God, something's really wrong. And then when somebody says what's wrong, all of a sudden, sometimes like an ocean, it just overflows.
Oh, yeah. And then people are scared.
Right.
And we might see them step back, and we might see that's more than I wanted to know, or that's too much. But pardon me, that's where maybe writing can come in. You can take little bits of it, and I guess I always try to examine in my writing, and I try to understand the motivation of others. I try to understand, and end it with a looking forward. So yes, I'm rehashing and reliving to a certain degree, but I'm also trying to move it forward, and I'm trying to look forward and ask that, what can I do, to get
and you're
more,
lighting a
to
lamp,
have more.
You're opening a beacon so that you can, somebody else can read that and say, hey, I felt like that too, and see that she's got that kind of a solution, and maybe that'll help me too, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I applaud you.
And that's what we do, right.
Yeah. The experience of listening to your mother was so huge for me, because it wasn't even necessarily just being on the stage and actually participating. I truly believe that even just having auditioned and just having spoken my story out loud to someone was so powerful by itself. And the whole experience of listening to your mother, of that whole Me Too. There are so many mommy wars. There's the stay-at-home moms versus the working moms. There's the breastfeeding moms versus the formula moms. There's there always seems to be this contention and this, this battle going on, and our society really feeds that and likes to focus on that. What I love so much about Listen to Your Mother is it's about what we share, and it's about understanding, and it's about my experience may not be the same as yours, but I can understand where you're coming from, and I can understand that we share a whole lot more than, what separates us. So, and then stepping out on the stage and getting the immediate feedback of the audience, and then, the after effects of it and the Me Too's, that you hear afterwards, it was the most powerful experience. It was fantastic.
Well, let me just put a little emphasis on something you said again. The society focus is on what's wrong. Oh, this is wrong.
And fear.
Eating.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be eating that today. You shouldn't be putting your money in there. You shouldn't be bottle feeding. You shouldn't be breastfeeding. You shouldn't be a stay-at-home mom. You shouldn't be a working mom. And it goes across the genders. It goes across. You shouldn't be look same-sex marriages. Oh, you shouldn't marry. We have to focus on the negatives all the time, and that's another thing that we can realize. And Ruth and I were actually briefly speaking of that this morning, is, who says what's the right thing for us to do and to follow.
Right.
And Ruth, if you want to just mention a little bit about the outcome of that quick discussion, and then we'll wrap up, because, of course, we're out of our half hour, because that's how fast.
Yeah, as we always do, right? As we do quickly. Yes, it does. So I think what you're getting at, Doreen, is that we have the power to make our own choices, right? And we
absolutely.
We have to look at our own behavior and look at how we position ourselves in the world and what we want to do to empower ourselves. Now, I think that Kim's point, I believe, is that you can take these small steps. You can go one step at a time. Figure out what makes you tick, what makes you happy, and use that play and use that happiness to be more and to be better, and to jump off from there.
And to keep in mind the who says, and when somebody does put us down, you know what? It does hurt. It does sting.
Yeah. Yeah, with the writing thing, one of the biggest things that has come out of Right to the End with the writing workshop that I co-facilitate, the biggest part of that, and so many, artists of all kinds, whether you're a writer, whether you are a visual artist or a performance artist, any of those artistic tendencies, we all think that there's somebody else that's better than us. But really the question is, instead of who do I think I am, the question should be, why not me? And who
Very
says
good.
that I have to go to Broadway? I can just do, community theater, or opportunities in your own community that are close to you, just little steps. We all have this Beachbody goal, or we all have this Broadway goal, or we all have this, I'm going to write the best-selling novel of the century goal. Well, what's wrong with the little goals in between? What's wrong with celebrating our small successes and the little steps that we take? And, I was proud as heck to participate in an encore variety show from my old high school. And I sang on that stage, and I got together with former students from my high school, and we celebrated our choir director that had directed variety show for 30 years in our school. And he was still alive to celebrate, and he directed the show, and it was one of the most fantastic experiences I've ever had. And my voice wasn't perfect. My voice was rusty. But since then, I've done other singing. I participated in a cantata at a church, and so the weekly rehearsals, I got my voice back this year. So I am almost in full soprano form again.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And I think you did a good job of bringing this back to community, Kim. And that's what Time to Play Foundation is all about. Building those resources within the community, being able to find the resources, being able to find the outlets that will allow you to enjoy life, and that's what an Enjoy Life community is founded on.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm gonna wrap us, and I'm gonna thank Kim for being part of this. If you go to the podcast link, you can get to her website and everything on there. But I appreciate your time. Why Not Me is a definite thing for us to take forward this week. And thank you to Michael with your great insight. And truly, we've all been here at some way, shape, or form. And I appreciate your input today. And thank you so much, Ruth, for coordinating this and helping move us forward. And our goal is to inspire others, everyone, to enjoy life. It is the Time to Play Foundation is a not-for-profit corporation with the mission and purpose to enrich the lives of others through programs, public awareness, outreach activities, events, and learning opportunities that further the concept of enjoying life. Why not me? Everyone deserves to enjoy life. So with that, thank you so
Doreen.
much. Go to timetoplay.com to be able to read articles and information to learn what you need to know so you can enjoy your life. And have a wonderful week, everyone.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Enjoy
so much.
all, and I hope you're enjoying the snow out there, Doreen, and I am too. And guys, Happy New Year.
It's kind of cold today, but it's all good.
More
Have a great day.
Good for your skin,
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.